So she went ahead and bought this dumpy house,
See that? What's that?
block and a half from the ocean. And then went ahead.
Good evening.
I want to see what it
Welcome to the Findlay City Council regular session on July 16th, 2024. We will start this evening's meeting with a roll call.
Mr. Ballman.
Here.
Mr. DeArmond.
Here.
Ms. Frishy. Here. Mr. Greeno. Mr. Hellman.
Here.
Mr. Niemeyer.
Here.
Mr. Palmer.
Here.
Mr. Russell.
Here,
Ms. Warnicki. Here. And Mr. Wobser.
Present.
Mr. Greeno contacted me at their last meeting, said he would not be in attendance tonight. I will entertain a motion to excuse Mr. Baumann. Second, Mr. Russell. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of excusing Mr. Greeno, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. He is excused. I'd like to invite 3 Boy Scouts up to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We have Jimmy Vance. Raise your hand, Jimmy.
He's not here.
Oh, what's your name then?
Grayson Hopkins.
Yeah, that kid. You look like him, but you're not him. And then brothers JJ and Matt Langlos. Matt. I'm sorry. I'm just right there. And they're going to, so please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance that they will lead us in. Go ahead, guys. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Thanks, guys. They're from Troop 319.
So moved.
I'm sorry, Mr. Palmer.
So moved.
Second, Mr. Baumann. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. They are approved. Mr. Russell, do we have any add-ons, replacements, or removals from tonight's agenda?
Yes, sir. 2 removals, removing the letter, a motion to remove the letter from City Engineer Calb concerning Emory Adams Fort Findlay Playground and the corresponding legislation ordinance 2024-085, move that both be removed from the agenda.
Second, Mr. DeArmond. Questions or comments? Mr. Russell.
Mr. Martin, would you have an explanation as to why we are removing these 2 items from the agenda tonight?
I'd be happy to add a little comment to that. As this project, as we recognize this project and we started to move forward with it, being the staple in the southern part of the community, as Fort Findlay, we really wanted a lot of public input on this. It was a community build when it was originally built, and we wanted that same feel when we did it this time. We started that process at Chamberlain Hill during the school year, but as time got away, we didn't get the community input overall that we really, the community deserved to input. So, but with lead times with equipment, we started down the process, or the process of actually getting things done with lead times, and we didn't give this fair community input. So we had a couple internal discussions, and the decision was made, let's pull this legislation, let's get that community campaign moving so we can get the input that's deserved, and then we'll bring this legislation forward again to get these dollars where they need to be so we can get the project done.
Mr. Hellman.
While you're on that subject, what does that do to your time frame on construction?
With the timeline that we were trying to move forward with, if we could get equipment ordered in the next month to 6 weeks, we were looking at a early spring build in 2025. We feel that if this next week, if we get the campaign out, we start getting some input over the next month, get that feedback, and we can move forward. It's going to push it a little bit, but I think we're still okay.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor of the removal from tonight's agenda of the 2 items, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. They are removed. We have no proclamations, no recognitions or retirements. We have no petitions. We have 2 oral communications that will be under new business. We have written communications.
An email from Teresa Thomas regarding dispensary and cultivation.
Questions or comments? Letter to be filed.
An email from Haiti Sadler regarding illegal immigrants.
Questions or comments? Letter to be filed. Reports of municipal officers and departments.
City income tax monthly collections report for June 2024.
Questions or comments? Report to be filed.
Findlay Police Departmental activities report for June 2024.
Questions or comments? Report to be filed.
Findlay Fire Department activities report for June 2024.
Questions or comments? Report to be filed.
Findlay Municipal Court activities report for June 2024.
Questions or comments? Report to be filed.
City Planning Commission agenda for July 11th, 2024, as well as the staff report for July 11th, 2024, and the minutes of June 13th, 2024.
Questions or comments? All three to be filed.
Traffic Commission minutes for June 17th, 2024.
Questions or comments? Minutes to be filed.
A letter from Mayor Mern regarding Blanchard Valley Port Authority appointment. This does require council confirmation.
Mr. Hellman.
I'd move to or concur with the recommendation of the mayor and confirm Mr. Sears to the Port Authority.
Second, Mr. DeArmond. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of his appointment say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. He is appointed.
Financial summary reports as of June 30th, 2024.
Questions or comments? Report to be filed.
A letter from City Engineer Calb regarding Cube Building Generator, project number 319-230-000.
Questions or comments? Letter to be filed.
The Emory Adams Fort Findlay Playground letter was removed. Letter from City Engineer Calb regarding Findlay Fire Department Mechanic Bay Air Conditioning Unit.
Questions or comments? Mr. Wolbser.
Rob, do we need to send this to appropriations? I know it's only $16,000. Is this something we need to, is this the only place that we've got this issue? I mean, it kind of popped up at us for,
It did pop up, and around this was a conversation that we did have with the Chief Everly and the department heads about needs versus wants. And at the time we were preparing, this was really not on the radar. It was discussed, but it was like, we can do without this. But with some of the timing of the maintenance that was being done this spring into the summer, with some of the periods of heat spells we've had, it was recognized that it's a safety concern that we have with the environment of the heat in that mechanics bay. So as we started looking at spend downs of the ARPA dollars as we moved through this year, that was one of the conversation points. Is this an opportunity to put this HVAC in to make this a better environment? And the decision was let's just move forward with this. But to answer your question, I know we have a 10-year capital plan. We really do our due diligence to work through it. But there's things like this that, just come up. So I would have liked to have had it in the plan as it was discussed, but it was just one that kind of came along as the situation presented itself.
sure, that makes sense. And I guess, my question is, by the time we get this done, get it through, get it approved, ordered, installed, it's going to be cool, for lack of a better term. Are we better off just leaving it and put it into our budget for 25? I mean, again, it's not a lot of money, but are we going to get any benefit out of it this year is my point. And it didn't say anything about using ARPA dollars for this. Are we going to?
No, that was part of the conversation, leading up to
Okay,
this.
so I could understand if it was ARPA dollars because we were on a deadline with those, but that's not the case here, so.
It is not. I'd like to say that it can wait, but my understanding is we could get this turned around once it goes through the legislative process, and it's a pretty quick install, that we could see the benefit as our summers extend into those fall months.
And I take it that due to the amount, we didn't do a bid process on this?
Correct. What we have been, the company that we got the quote from is one that's been working with us in so they do our preventative maintenance out there. They've done some work with the Strict Center as well as some other maintenance. So having them, it made sense to have them do this work as well.
Other questions or comments? Mr. DeArmond?
I'm just curious, how big a space is this? How many people work in this area?
We have 2 mechanics at work out there based on the demand of the maintenance that needs to be done. It's not necessarily the width and length of the building, it's the height of the ceilings that we need to do this. Our largest fire apparatus, our ladder truck, can fit in it.
Yeah.
Tightly, but it can fit in it.
Okay, so it's the
I-
size of the fire truck, basically?
Yeah,
Okay,
essentially.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
And
This-
So it's not big? I mean,
It's an,
not-
no, it's
yeah,
not.
It's not,
It-
not a huge area?
I don't even want to guess if it's 100.
No, that's fine.
But the size of a ladder truck, and it's tight to actually squeeze it in there, but we're able to get done what we need to get done.
All right.
Ms. Frishy?
So I have a couple questions for you, is how often do we have the mechanics in the bay? Are they there 8 to 5 every day? Are they there in the evenings? How often is it used? And then the other question is there a current AC unit in there or no?
There is not one in the mechanics bay. So
For how many years have there not been one?
that building was built in the early 2000s, so since then. But we've, over the last few years, transitioned to do more internal maintenance. We have certified mechanics that had retired from the fire service and then came back on as part-time mechanics. We have 2 of them, and they don't work full-time. They are both part-time, and sometimes they work together based on the workload of what needs to get done, and sometimes there's just general maintenance that one individual can accomplish alone. So I don't have a set schedule for you, Councilwoman Frishy. It's based on the demand of maintenance, routine, or what comes up, and the load of if it's one person versus 2. And it's traditionally during the day, though, to answer your question about evening.
Okay, so, I mean, I think Councilman Whoopser, I think he asked you for permission if we should send it to committee. I think we should, because it comes back to council at the end of the day, if it's necessary to do right now or not. I think everybody asked a lot of good questions. And I would encourage Councilman Whoopser, who's head of appropriations, to send it that way, because another thought is maybe it doesn't need an AC unit. A lot of bigger buildings with larger roofs have the big ASS fans from the ceiling that do a lot, and they get the job done, and maybe that's cheaper or makes more sense, or maybe it does make sense to wait.
My understanding is there are ceiling fans. The legislative body can choose what they want, but they do have ceiling fans, to my knowledge.
Mr. Wobser?
Yeah, we'll refer this to appropriations and take it up. We'll go through it at that point, Rob. It'll still keep rolling, but we'll have a quick meeting on that.
Other questions or comments? Letter be filed.
Precipitation and reservoir levels report for second quarter 2024, which is April through June.
Questions or comments? Report to be filed.
Letter from City Engineer Calb regarding fourth capital improvement appropriation of 2024.
Questions or comments? Letter to be filed.
A letter from City Engineer Calb regarding AIP 33 North Apron Rehab Construction, project number 3522400.
Questions or comments? Letter be filed.
A letter from City Engineer Calb regarding 5th Street Alley Sanitary Sewer Replacement, project number 3564400.
Questions or comments? Ms. Frishy?
I guess I was just looking for more information. I know it didn't go to the Water and Sewer Committee for discussion. There's statements that it's in a rush. What made us go back to look at this sanitary sewer to begin with? Was it on our regular cycle? Was there complaints? Because reading it, like, there's gaps, but then there's not because there's enough flow. Like, none of it makes sense.
Mr. Martin?
So hopefully to clarify that, this sanitary was part of the lining project that we're scheduled to do. And the lining device was in cleaning the roots. They clean before they line. And the device got hung up on a couple large roots and they had to pull back. We televised the actual line and found that the integrity of the actual sanitary line was being held up by the root system, and it was in disrepair, it needed to be fixed. So you don't find those things out until you get into it. So we were lining it, but found that it needed to be repaired or replaced. And it's essentially 600 feet in a grass alleyway that runs essentially between 5th Street and 6th Street. So, and the crossroads are Eastgate and Amelia, if I'm correct. So gives you a little proximity, but it's essentially 600 feet in the grass alleyway. It was intended to be lined. That wasn't an option. We televised and found this is the best solution to rectify it.
So we didn't televise it before we put it on the lining program. And is it like getting sewage contaminant coming up? Nothing? I'm not saying we're not doing it. I'm just,
But my understanding is the roots that have actually penetrated through the sanitary line are holding it together, and it is in disrepair, and we recognize this as a priority to get it done.
Other questions or comments? Letter be filed.
Letter from City Auditor Stashak regarding revenue estimates for fiscal year 2025. He asks that this letter be read.
Mr. Palmer,
Move that the letter be read into the record.
second Ms. Frishy. All those in favor of having the letter read, say aye.
I,
Any opposed, nay.
Nay.
I think that was 2.
I'm guessing 2 nays. That's what I got. Okay. Please read the letter.
Ohio clearly defines a budgetary process which includes the requirement that municipalities prepare an annual tax budget by July 20th. The County Budget Commission has not required the filing of a complete tax budget for many years and requires the City of Findlay only to provide the attached estimated revenues for submission to the Budget Commission for the next fiscal year. In order to meet the statutory requirements for the distribution of the local government money, this document should now be formally accepted by council, so it can then be filed with the county auditor by no later than July 20. A motion for acceptance of the revenue estimates will be needed. As required by statute, the council clerk scheduled a public hearing before this meeting, notice of which was published 10 days before the hearing. The document has been available for public inspection in my office since July 3rd of this year.
Questions or comments? Ms. Frishy?
I just have one question. So like how far off are you allowed to be?
Mr. Stashak?
That's a great question. This is a statutory process. It has no impact on our budget at all. Most of the numbers come during the last fall's budget process because we have our department heads do a 2-year look forward and kind of estimate what they're doing, and then we do the same on the revenue side. We really don't even get into a conversation with the administration or the different departments as to what operational changes they're doing or what they might see differently until late in the year. As well as you guys have all noticed from the income tax reports, it has varied wildly this year, way up, way down, and now we're down again this month. So we've got a lot going on. So to answer your question directly, no impact, not a concern. It's a statutory requirement only. However, if we were in a situation where our local government funds were at risk or were being fought for by the townships against the agreement that's been in place for a number of years, it would become more important at that point because we would need to defend our position as to the amount that we're getting contractually from the county. So with the agreement having been in place for a few decades, I think it was put in place in the 80s. I don't remember exactly, but a long time ago, that agreement supersedes the annual review that is done in some counties with regard to local government funds. That being said, there is going to be some discussion on it that's required by the statutes, but nothing significant. And I will be meeting, Councilman Wobser and I will be meeting with the county auditor in a required meeting that she has invited me to later in August. There's a lot going on around this year.
Other questions or comments? Letter to be filed.
Treasurer's Reconciliation Report for June 30th, 2024.
Questions or comments? Mr. Russell?
Don't we have to,
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
John, I need to, I would make a motion that council formally accept the 2025 revenue estimates for fiscal 2025.
I'm sorry, it doesn't indicate that it needed a vote, but we'll do that. Second, Mr. Wobser. Other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the auditor's revenue estimates for fiscal year 2025 25, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. They are adopted. Oh,
I did, I think.
oh, treasurer's questions or comments on the treasurer's report? Hearing none, letter, report to be filed. We have no committee reports. We have no resolutions, ordinances.
Third reading for ordinance 2024-79, an ordinance authorizing the city of Findlay, Ohio to enter into an agreement with Findlay City Schools for the acquisition of the park property located on 4 Acre Avenue, Findlay, Ohio, parcel number 600001008634, currently owned by Findlay City Schools.
Mr. Baumann.
Move for adoption ordinance number 2024-079.
Second, Mr. Palmer. Discussion. Mr. Stashak.
Just to be consistent, I'll ask the question, not knowing the history of this parcel, I didn't research it, I wouldn't expect that there would be any problem, but did anyone inquire of someone who is qualified as to whether or not a phase 1 needed to be done here?
Mr. Martin.
I did work with legal counsel that did a title search back to the 1900s that tracked it to the original owners, and there is no indication, I have a certified letter, there's no indication that environmentals are necessary.
Other questions or comments? All those in favor of the ordinance say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
And Mr. Wobser.
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
Second reading for ordinance 2024-80, an ordinance vacating a certain portion of a certain street hereinafter referred to as a Tappan Street vacation in the city of Findlay, Ohio. Second reading for ordinance 2024-81, an ordinance authorizing the establishment of a 12-month moratorium on the establishment of any cultivation, processing, or dispensing of recreational marijuana facilities in the city of Findlay in order for the city of Findlay, Ohio to consider the ramifications of recreational marijuana and potential zoning changes that may be considered and declaring an emergency. Second reading for ordinance 2024-82, an ordinance authorizing the mayor, service safety director, and/or city engineer of the city of Findlay, Ohio to enter into contracts for the purchase of a new utility pickup truck for the city of Findlay Traffic Signals Department, appropriating and transferring funds thereto, and declaring an emergency. First reading for ordinance 2024-84, an ordinance authorizing the mayor, service safety director, and/or city engineer of the city of Findlay, Ohio to enter into contracts for the city of Findlay Cube Building Generator Project number 319-23000, appropriating and transferring funds thereto, and declaring an emergency. We removed ordinance 2024-85. First reading for ordinance 2024-86. An ordinance authorizing the mayor, service safety director, and/or city engineer of the city of Findlay, Ohio to enter into contracts for the installation of a new air handler in the Mechanic Bay air conditioning unit at the city of Findlay Fire Station number 4, appropriating and transferring funds thereto, and declaring an emergency. First reading for ordinance 2024-87. An ordinance authorizing the mayor, service safety director, and/or city engineer of the city of Findlay, Ohio to advertise for bids where required and enter into a contract or contracts for construction of various projects in accordance with the 2024 department equipment list, appropriating and transferring funds for said capital expenditures, and declaring an emergency. First reading for ordinance 2024-88, an ordinance appropriating and transferring funds and declaring an emergency. First reading for ordinance 2024-89, an ordinance authorizing the mayor, service safety director, and/or city engineer of the city of Findlay, Ohio to waive formal advertising and bidding requirements and enter into contracts with Homebrick Excavating LLC for sanitary sewer replacement in the alley of a section of 5th Street in the city of Findlay, appropriating funds thereto, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Russell.
This is a situation that only goes one direction, and that's bad. So, and with Holbrink ready to go, I make a motion that council statutory rules be suspended and ordinance 2024-089 be given its second and third reading.
Second, Mr. Palmer. All those in favor of suspension of the rules say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Nay.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wobser?
Nay.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
2 nay.
The rules have been suspended, and the clerk will give this ordinance its second and third reading.
Ordinance 2024-89. Ordinance 2024-89.
I can suspend on 7.
Mr. Baumann.
Move for adoption ordinance number 2024-089.
Second, Mr. DeArmond. Discussion. Mr. Hellman.
I've got a quick question, I guess. The comment was made, I think, by Mr. Russell that this can only go in one direction, and that's bad. Can you expound on that a little bit, if you would, Grant? I mean, why would?
Yeah, it's a sanitary sewer that is being held up by the roots that we just in the process of trying to line that we cut.
Yeah.
And it is something that can't be scoped, so one would assume that it makes it difficult for effluent to flow through it. And that means you either resolve this now, or you resolve it when it's when you have sanitary flowing into people's yards. So you're doing this project one way or the other. It's just a matter of, are you going to do it on your timeline or on the sanitary line's timeline?
I
Which
just
is
thought.
why
I'm
why
sorry.
moved
I'm
to
sorry. The
suspend.
reason I gavelled was that per council rules, to suspend under super majority, which is 3/4, and we only have 9 members, it would take 8 votes to suspend the rules, and we only had 7. So any discussion on this is moot. So we will move on. The rules are not suspended, and we will move on to old business. Do I hear any old business? New business? Mr. DeArmond?
All right, so back to old business for a second. So the ad hoc committee on council rules. So council adopted our proposed rule changes on May 21st for a 4-meeting trial. So we utilized the new rules on June 4th, June 18th, July 2nd, and tonight is our 4th meeting. So I guess from my perspective, the rules have been, I think, have helped. I mean, specifically when we had AEP and Hancock Wood up here, I thought it was great that they were at the podium when we were talking the discussion. They were active participants in the discussion, as opposed to them speaking at the very beginning and 45 minutes later we addressed the topic. So I think that has been a positive rule change. So we are still open to comments. I think we're going to have our meeting at 5:30 on, what was the date? July 22nd. So July 22nd at 5:30 is the next ad hoc. So that's next Monday night. So if anybody has comments, if you could send them to our chairman, Councilor Palmer, this week, that would be great.
Other new business? Okay, we have 2 speakers this evening. I gotta get my notes here. First is Sharon Hildebrand, who resides in Ward 2, and she would like to speak to immigration.
Thank you very much.
Make sure your thing is on.
It is on. Can you hear me? I'm going to be going fast as you dictate 4 minutes. My name is Sharon Hillebrand. I live in the 2nd Ward. I am a member of Judicial Watch, a conservative, nonpartisan American educational foundation that promotes transparency, accountability, and integrity in government, politics, and the law. As a member, I receive status reports on litigation and reports on critical issues affecting Americans. I am here tonight to share information from these reports, as I feel you are making a serious, dangerous mistake in bringing a large number of illegal aliens into our community and state. To clarify, I will be using the term illegal alien as it is descriptively accurate and legally correct under both the Federal Immigration and Nationality Act, USC 1227, and U.S. Supreme Court precedent. Our immigration law is being broken every day by politicians and NGOs, which are non-governmental organizations which include corporations, 501c3s and 4s, lobbyists, political PACs, etc., who are all colluding with the government. The only reason they say it is broken is because it doesn't serve their purposes. Today, America is being invaded by illegal aliens at the invitation of our government and in total disregard for the law. America has a back door, which should always be locked, and a front door, which is the correct way to enter. When an illegal alien comes through the front door and expresses a desire to become a citizen, there is a process. Must have some kind of sponsorship. 2, must learn how to speak and read English. 3, must take a civics course. 4, must learn to be independent so as not to be a burden on American citizens. 5, must be lawful. Section 237 of the Immigration and Nationality Act lists a plethora of grounds for deportation. 6, must assimilate to American culture. Any failure to meet these criteria is ground for deportation. In other words, there are responsibilities which have to be accepted, with assimilation being the required outcome. What responsibilities are you? Clarification, you means mayor and all of city council. What responsibilities are you requiring of the people in or coming to Findlay? Most everything I've heard is instructions on how the citizens should be accepting, helpful, understanding, etc., as our local administration is laying down the red carpet. How dare you think it appropriate to dump the responsibilities on the citizens of Findlay? Illegal immigrants bleed our federal, state, and local governments of billions of taxpayer dollars annually for law enforcement, public education, and public health care costs, to the tune of $134.9 billion a year. The unlawful support that illegal aliens receive from sanctuary cities, counties, and states across America also threatens the integrity of our elections by making it easier for non-U.S. citizens to vote. Did you know that Cincinnati, Columbus, Lorain, and Oberlin are sanctuary cities? Decades of failure by Democratic and Republican presidents and Congresses to enforce our immigration laws have undermined the rule of law in America. Are they being vetted? No, they are not. No checking for diseases, gang affiliation, drug trafficking, child human trafficking. And we today have 87,000 unaccompanied children lost in our country today. There are also 2 million gotaways. I have not heard any discussion about the cultures of all the illegal aliens. Over 170 countries are being represented.
Sharon, but that's your 4 minutes.
Okay, I'm almost finished. May I
Ms. Frishy?
continue?
I'd make a motion to let her finish if she's almost done.
Second,
And
Mr.
I will
Hellman.
speed it up.
Let me finish my business
I'm
before
sorry.
you can finish yours. Second, Mr. Hellman. All those in favor of allowing her to continue, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, now you can.
Thank you. Over 170 countries are being represented by the invasion. Are they compatible with U.S. culture? Are they from countries that shout death to America, practice female genital mutilation, believe in live-in concubines, believe that the legal age for sex is 12, have little to no hygiene skills? What proactive steps are you taking to protect the citizens of Findlay from theft, rape, assault, etc.? Do you really think it can't happen here? We as citizens have a right to know. Findlay's culture and economy is going to be drastically affected by the up to 1,000 person increase in low-income workers. I find it reprehensible that so much focus is being placed on the illegal aliens who are flush with cash from the government, while the citizens of Findlay are experiencing 22% inflation in their household budgets. I personally think it is cruel to bring people from third world countries and deposit them all over America. America is a very sophisticated, advanced, highly technical country. The only reason to bring illegal aliens here is to undercut low-income wages of Americans, count them in the next census to beef up government representation and funding, and ensure a new voting bloc for Democrats.
Ms. Frishy?
Question?
Sharon, I appreciate your research there. A couple questions, I'll direct them over to the mayor to see. When they talk about culture, she brought that up. I've had a lot of calls, a lot of people reaching out about Broad Avenue, which is always seems to be the hot spot, right? Do we put NEAT out there? Are we addressing anything out there currently? Because you do feel like you're in a different place other than Findlay, Ohio, at times when you're over there. So I'm just like, do we involve NEAT to try to clean things up, manage things a little bit better? I mean, I've been over there at Beckett's for, Beckett's Burgers, and there's engines sitting in the parking lot. People are laying under trees, and it's just way different for a business to be surrounded by. And so I just didn't know if NEAT was involved there. Also, where are you with a count today from where you were the last time you gave us a count on our new population?
Are those your two questions? Thank you.
All right, so no, I don't believe we've had NEAT involved. I'm not aware of any complaints against the property. Obviously, if we have been contacted by a neighbor concerned with the property, we would reach out, but I'm not aware of any complaints that we've received of the property, and obviously NEAT would just be related to zoning violations and different cleanups that would be necessary. I don't have any update on population. I'm not aware of any real increase that we have seen. I think it's mainly dictated by people being able to find housing. So I'm not aware of any increase above the estimate of about 1,000 people within the Findlay Hancock County area.
Any other questions for Sharon? Ms. Mayor?
Sharon, I'm assuming, given that this is all related to federal policy that the city does not have influence of, that you have also reached out to our members of Congress and Senate?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, Judicial Watch is in the process now of litigating sanctuary cities, litigating the immigration influx. Yes, they are also actively pursuing that.
Good. I know I've
But
had.
you are not dismissed from obeying federal law.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And as we've shared
Okay.
multiple times, the city of Findlay, we're in a challenging situation. I keep saying that, and I want to be very clear. We're not bringing individuals here. I have no involvement in recruiting people, busing people in, paying for them to be here. Neither does the city of Findlay government.
But
That-
you can deny their presence.
Not
You
if they are
can't-
here legally, if I can finish my statement,
All right.
because people, once they are in our country, whether they have the same rights as any other citizen. Unless
Oh,
they,
no,
yes,
that
the
is
constitutional
wrong.
right.
Quiet,
No.
quiet.
No, that is wrong.
They do I can't just say, hey, we don't want you here, kick them out. If they have proper federal paperwork, whether we like their paperwork or not, they are here legally under federal law. And unless they are committing a crime that warrants deportation, I don't have any ability to just walk up to someone and say, you know what, you're not from here, don't really like you, you gotta go.
May I
And
ask?
so, look, I would like to just explain. I agree that these are challenging situations and that federal policy needs to change. We need to have a secure border, that we shouldn't be, but I also don't control those things. So when they come to our community, if they have proper paperwork, they're following our laws, I can't just go up into somebody and kick them out. So if you have recommendations on things, our goal at the community level has been, how do we help them assimilate to our community? So educating about the cultural difference. You know, when you walk up, now we're not paying to do all of these things, and I'm not, but we're helping them say, listen, you know, if you're gonna live here, here are the laws of the land. You need to, you know, if you have your driver's license and you own a car, then you need to make sure that you're obeying the traffic laws, because we enforce those. So those are the things that as a government entity I can do. As I've asked a number of other people, what do you think that we should be doing that I'm not currently doing when someone has legal paperwork to be in our community?
I would like you to clarify for me, as I said in I think it was on page 1, our law is being broken. Our immigration law, the government that we have, the federal government that we have now, does not have the authority through executive order to override, cancel any kind of a law. That is not a president's purview. That is only in Congress that any laws that can be changed. So my question to you is, what law, federal law, do you think you are following? Because the immigration law 1227 does not permit. You come in the front door, the federal government gives you your papers. Because all of the NGOs, the 501c3s that are transporting them up here, do not have legal authority to do that. The staffing person in Springfield, they do not have the authority to do that. Companies that want to hire the illegals, they do not have the authority to circumvent the law.
Mayor?
If someone in our community that we interact with provides a work visa, a refugee status, or asylum status, those are all currently under federal law legal paperwork. Whether you agree or disagree with the federal government and how they are issuing them, that is outside my purview. I don't have that level of authority. But those paperwork under federal law is valid, and I do not have any ability to walk up to someone and say that it's not. So I'm happy to have another conversation outside of tonight's conversation.
Yes, we need to have another conversation,
but
because I do not believe the paperwork you are banking on is legal. It was not given to you or to them by the federal government, unless it was one of those blanket agreements, which is not legal.
Thank you,
So
Sharon.
I would like to discuss that with you in depth.
Okay, our second speaker tonight is Haiti
Thank you.
Sadler. Haiti lives in Ward 6, and she would also like to speak to the immigration.
City Council, I'm reading my letter that I wrote since it was just filed. Letter to be filed. My name is Haiti Sadler. I'm in Ward 6. Dear Mayor and Council members, over the past several months, I have taken a lot of time to speak at City Council meetings regarding the influx of illegal aliens being allowed and assisted not only into our city, but also surrounding villages and townships. Many of the residents of Findlay have reached out with concerns about this growing population. In an article in Breitbart on July 10th, 2024, the headline reads, Biden floods Ohio town with 20,000 Haitian migrants, 10 to a bedroom. An article you can find on Breitbart.com, which I have also attached. This article is talking about Springfield, Ohio. Is this the same Springfield that is supplying the labor to our local factories? Is this the same Springfield that the chief of police, Matthias, mentioned during the budget hearing in December when he said, we're in the same boat as Springfield. They come in waves and the waves get bigger. Should Findlay be concerned about Biden flooding our city because the illegal immigrants already have their foot in the door? This administration has already created an immigration task force to help assist this invasion in our city, an agenda that is very dangerous considering we don't know who's coming into our town and whether or not they are criminals. The illegal immigrants are committing crimes from rape to murder across the country, yet given a free pass to our city with our taxpayer dollars that you call grants. These grants are given to nonprofit organizations and other non-governmental agencies. That is not how we want our tax dollars spent. It is out of this growing concern that I'm asking this administration to dismantle the Immigration Task Force in order to preserve the future of this charming community and the future for our children.
Questions or comments? Thank you, Ms. Sadler.
Thank you.
Other new business? Hearing none, the mayor's requested that we adjourn into executive session. Mr. Wobser.
Need to call an appropriations committee meeting. Looking towards next week. Other people on the committee, could we do something around potentially lunchtime on Monday or Tuesday? What time? You're to 4:30. Just a little. I'm trying to find a time here. I am booked up every evening next week. And I'm booked up on Friday too, sorry. Friday evening. Yep, we'll take this offline. I'll get something. We'll look for emails. We'll figure out something. I don't want to take up time.
Ms. Russell?
If there's no other business, I would, I'd make a motion that council convene an executive session as authorized under Ohio Revised Code, Chapter 121-22G2, to discuss potential purchase of property. No vote or business will be done following the executive session.
Second, Mr. Baumann. All those in favor of adjournment into executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. We are adjourned into executive session.